So far in these tutorials, we've shown you how to use the library website, how to use PubMed, how to use Web of Science, how to use Popline, then how to do a kind of an advanced Google search for the types of materials that you used. You may have noticed, or I may have mentioned throughout, that I've been using Firefox as my browser. I normally honestly use Google Chrome when I'm doing a search, but I'm using Firefox for a reason today, because I want to show you how to save all of these different searches using Zotero. So there are different resources you can use for citation management. Most people in the School of Public Health either use Zotero or Mendeley. We have tutorials on different versions, different resources here. If I just click on tutorials, you'll see that we have a Mendeley tutorial, another Zotero tutorial here. Zotero has changed a bit over the last few years, which is why I'm doing it again just for this session for orientation for the School of Public Health, because the way it looks has changed a little bit, but the functionality is pretty much the same. You can also see that BU also has a subscription to RefWorks. I personally, and this is my personal opinion, not BU's opinion or anyone else's opinion, I just don't think RefWorks at this point as easy to use or as stable as it used to be. When we first got it in 2008, it was fantastic. We used to teach classes to RefWorks all the time. I think that over the last 7 years, other products have kind of caught up and even surpassed RefWorks in terms of usability and reliability, so we don't really teach RefWorks as much as we used to. The big daddy of all the tools is EndNote. EndNote is spectacular, but you have to pay for it yourself. I think as a student subscription now is probably like $110. It's fantastic. If I had to write a book chapter or a dissertation, I would buy EndNote tomorrow. It is fantastic what it can do. It's super powerful, super fast, but it is expensive. I myself have EndNote on my computer, and I still use Zotero and Mendeley probably 80-90% of the time because they're just faster, more intuitive, and kind of lighter, less of a learning curve, but EndNote is still fantastic. So in this case, I'm going to talk about Zotero. So if you've ever used any of these citation packages before, they're all pretty similar in what they do. They allow you to store your citations, import citations, then when you're writing a paper, it allows you to insert your citations in the body of the text and also make a bibliography. So if you want to use Zotero, and again, you can use any of these you want. Mendeley, we have a tutorial as well. But since I'm here with Zotero, I'm just going to stick with Zotero. So you just want to go to zotero.org. So kind of unsurprisingly, once you're here in zotero.org, you're going to see a giant red Download Now button. So you kind of want to click on Download Now. You can use Zotero for PCs, for Macs, and also with Linux computers if you want. I've used it on Ubuntu Linux, and it works fine, so not a problem whatever operating system you're using. I would say you can see over here that it does have the Zotero standalone for Firefox, Chrome, and Safari. Again, my personal opinion, I don't think the Chrome or Safari standalone versions are as good as this one here that's actually integrated into Firefox. So, excuse me, even if you don't like Firefox, if you never use it, if you think it stinks and you like Safari and Chrome better, that's fine. I don't honestly disagree with you, but Zotero with Firefox together is so good. I actually use Firefox on all my computers just so I can use Zotero. So I definitely download it for free if you don't use it, and just have it on your computer, just use it with Zotero. So what you want to do once you're at this page here and you have Firefox already installed on your computer, you're just going to click here to install Firefox. I already have it, so I'm not going to do it, but you would just click here. It would ask you to install it, ask you to allow it. It's going to install, probably takes about 15 or 20 seconds depending on your amount of bandwidth that you have, download speeds. It's going to then close Firefox, come back here to zotero.org, and then click here to plug this in to get the plugin for your copy of Word. So when all is said and done, you're going to see in your Zotero library, or your version of Firefox, this little Z up here. So this is actually your Zotero library. So when I click on this little Z, it pulls up my, in this case, Zotero library. So I have a huge Zotero library. I've had Zotero probably since 2007. So you can see my library, I have like over about 4,200 things in my library, so it is huge. I use it all the time, like I said. And you can see these are all my folders over here. So when you just install Zotero, you're probably just going to see my library. I think you're going to see trash and maybe just one other folder for like your startup things, which is fine. If you want to make a new folder, obviously you can just click right here. So I'm just going to put a bunch of zeros here just so I can see it. So it's obviously now going to be the very first folder in my library. So whatever one you highlight here, it's going to put things into that folder automatically when you start to pull things in. It's also going to ask you when you set up your account and you create an account in Zotero to register your account. So the nice thing about Zotero, if I click here, I can kind of see that you can actually share your citations with other people. You can store things to the cloud. So all this is all for free, which is great. I think you get 300 megabytes for storage when you open a Zotero account. I could be wrong, but I think it's 300. So you can share, you can put as many things in the cloud as you want. You can also share with people up to you exceed that limit of 300 megabytes. If you exceed it, you can actually pay Zotero a small fee. I think it's like $5 or $10 a month to host your account, but very few people ever exceed it. I mean, maybe if you're running your lab using Zotero, but it doesn't really happen very often. Like I said, I've had one for 7 years. You can see if I scroll all the way down here, these are all of my shared accounts with other people. So when you get down to these kind of little brown folders here, those are all your shared ones. And I've had, no problems. So these group libraries here with sharing citations with people. So it's really great if you're collaborating with somebody. You can actually, where it says groups here, once you are logged in, you can make your own account. You can actually make a group and invite the people you want to come into your group, so your coworkers and things. You can make it private, so only people that you invite to your group can actually use your resources. You can restrict the level of access, so maybe they can only take things, they can only, cite things from your library. They can't add things or delete things, or you can give them, full control. So it's really a great resource to use when you get to that point with collaboration. But again, I'm just going to go back to the very top here with that new folder I just made. Okay, so here is my new folder. I said things by default are going to go in here. So Zotero is great with the different databases and things we've talked about so far today. So say I'm going back to PubMed, so I'll go back to the library homepage here. And then PubMed, so it should remember the searches I ran earlier. They're all right there, which is great. So say I pull up this set, and it's kind of a smaller one here, just these 16 that come back. So now that Zotero is installed on my computer, you see next to the little Z, and this is just how you toggle your library, so I can just close this to bring the library back, click on the little Z again to toggle it. There's a little manila folder next to my Z as well. So if I wanted to, here in PubMed, Zotero recognized there was 16 things on the screen here. So if I just click on that little folder, it's going to ask me to, if I want to download all 16 of those things, it's going to pull in not so much the text itself, but the full citation I need to cite any of these things. So I can do all 16 at once. That's that folder means it recognizes multiple items on this page. I tend not to want to pull everything in, just all 16. I like to look at them myself personally. So I can click here just in this very first article. That folder now changes to a sheet of paper. So that's Zotero saying that I recognize this as a journal article. If I want to import this journal article, I just click on that sheet of paper, and it automatically goes into the folder I highlighted. It also goes into my library too. Everything goes into my library is kind of like your biggest sort of list of citations and the subfolder you made yourself. It's kind of like, weirdly enough, the file structure they modeled this after is iTunes. So if you have a bunch of albums like in your iTunes library and you make a playlist, these little folders are kind of like the playlist, and the library is your actual list of albums. So if you delete a folder or delete a playlist, it doesn't necessarily delete that album from your albums. It just deletes that playlist. And like a playlist, you can have the same article in multiple folders depending on what you're doing. So I downloaded this particular citation here from PubMed. You see it brought in all the stuff I would need to cite it. So it knows it's a journal article, the title, the authors, the name of the publication, all the metadata, so volume, issue, pages, date, the abstract if it's available, all the mesh terms used to index it if it's available. So it does a really great job of pulling in all the information that was there. So these are all the mesh terms that were there for that particular article. So if we go, again, just looking at the different databases we use today, if I go to Web of Science, which hopefully is still here because I didn't mean to close it, but I did, so that's kind of on me. Go to my search history here. So great, that's still here. So again, just a smaller set, so I'm just going to look at, say, these two in this case. So also the same thing, I'll get that little folder up here that recognizes two things on the page. Or I can just click here, download that one article. Either way, the only reason why I don't like to do it, like I said, I don't like to do it multiple items on the page because I might not want those articles. There's no point to import things you don't really want. And also, if you import a lot of things, I was doing a search earlier today for a researcher, and I was looking at the database Cinel, and there was 50 things per page. That just with 50 things, it's a little bit slow in Zotero, but 2 things, 10, 15 things, it's not so bad. Okay, so there's Web of Science. When we get back to Popline, Popline's a little bit strange, and every database is unique in its own way, that the way it wants to do things. So I just go over here to, again, to our home page here. I'm just going to go back to Popline, which I could have just Googled now I think about it, but not really important, I guess. Okay, so here is Popline. So if you want to use Popline, which again is fantastic, I would not say you shouldn't use it at all. You just have to make an account. So you see here where it says register and then sign in. So I already have a Popline account. Again, it's free. It's only going to take you a few seconds to make. But you really have to do this if you want to use Zotero with Popline. So it's going to go in here, and I think my search has been forgotten. That's just my fault. I'm not really worried about that. So it's going to go up here, say really quickly to that same search again, an advanced search. So say great, remember that. So let's click on search here and bring back those 30 results. So okay, so say I want to use I don't know, like number 4 and 5 here. These are the ones I want to add to my library. So the way I can do that, you can see where it says here my documents. I want to get these into my documents folder. So if I see where it says add to my documents underneath the titles, I think I said I want to use 4 and 5. So it's going to click on add to my documents here, add these to my documents here. So I scroll back up now. So it says this my documents folder here when I click on this. So it's going to show me my account. My name, by the way, is David Flynn. I don't think I mentioned that so far in this whole tutorial. So these are my documents based on my account. I have these two things here. So I'm going to say, okay, I definitely want to save these two things. I want to export these. So I click on RIS. Because I have Zotero here, it recognizes that I want to actually export that to Zotero. So I'm going to say OK. And those two things go directly into my account. So it's not quite as straightforward. I'm just clicking that little sheet of paper up here next to the Z, but it still works just fine. It's just a few more steps, but you can certainly get those out there to Zotero pretty easily. Other things Zotero can do, so say you're using a book, not from the BU catalog. So as I said before, we have about, sorry, I totally can't type now. We have about 20,000 print books in the medical library itself. BU as a whole subscribes to about has about 1 million books total in print or electronically, which sounds great, but there are at least 50 million books in print, so it's quite possible. There's like a 2% chance if you're using a book that that we have that it gets in all the holdings in the world. So if there's a book that you're using that BU just doesn't have in the catalog, you could certainly get it from the BU catalog if we had it like that, Mountains Beyond Mountains. But if not, you can just come to Amazon, because Amazon has pretty much the best book catalog listing in the world. So any book you can think of, and I never can think of a book when I'm doing this, so I just kind of always use Harry Potter by default. So it's going to type in here Harry Potter, and I can't type or spell. Okay, so I look at Harry Potter here, so I get now this little folder again to recognize there are multiple sort of Harry Potter items on the page here. If I just wanted the very first book, when I click on the very first Harry Potter book, that icon now changes to a book. So now this is Zotero recognizing that this is a book as the type of item, because books are different than journals, the kinds of stuff that it wants to automatically import and things. So if I click on this little book, it's going to save Harry Potter to my folder here. And it's going to bring in all the things you need to cite a book. So it's going to bring in the author, J.K. Rowling. It's going to bring in this Mary Grandpré as the illustrator. So it does a really great job. Sorry, it's been a little slow. I'm just going to try that again. It does a really great job of pulling in all the material you need to actually cite that particular resource. So weirdly enough, I don't know why it's not working right now, but again, not important. It's just something weird going on right now with Firefox. So it usually works just fine. You just click on it, it usually comes right in there, but whatever, it's just not working right now. Usually works just fine, as I said. You can also do things in Zotero with other kinds of resources. So say you're using a newspaper article. So say you're using the New York Times. It's really good at recognizing also, papers and things. So if I click here at the New York Times, now I will say it gets a little bit confused usually on the New York Times front page because of all the banner ads and stuff. There's no, folder here. There's no sheet of paper. This little blue sheet of paper here just means that it wants to save this as a website, which I really don't want to do. So I can just click here, and then if I click on one particular article, now it should change this to a little newspaper. So it knows that this is just a specific newspaper article from the New York Times. I click on that. Normally that would save just fine. Again, I don't know why it's not working right now, but it normally works without a hitch. Probably just I'm trying to show this to you, that's why it's not working, but whatever. Normally you click on that, it saves that automatically by itself, it's fine. And then finally, the last kind of resource you're probably going to use quite a bit. Say you went to a certain website, so we're talking about, say, the WHO earlier. Sorry, org/en. So say I'm using WHO again myself. Again, maybe it's just really slow there. That's the problem. I don't know what actually the deal is here. But anyway, when you go to a website that Zotero recognizes as a website, oh, that's totally my fault here. We'll just go with, I don't know, one that's going to work. I just can't type at this point. Like I said, I did these all straight through, so now after talking for 2 hours, my brain's kind of turning to mush rapidly. But so cdc.gov, now this little kind of blue sheet of paper, that just means a website. Usually if I click on that, it's going to work, but it's not going to work right now for whatever reason. Normally it's fine. It clicks on that, it's going to save that automatically as a website. The nice thing when it saves a website is that it's going to go through and also capture the date you use that particular website and the URL, which is something you definitely want when it comes time to cite that resource that you saved as a website. Okay, so again, normally the books and newspapers and websites work. It's not working right now. Not a big deal. I'm sure it'll be working by the time you install it yourself, whenever you get around to doing that. So it's great that Zotero lets you store these things in here, bring all kinds of resources into your computer. You can also do things if you already have a bunch of PDFs on your computer. So I'm just going to pop over to my desktop here, which is kind of a mess. So say I already had this particular PDF on my desktop, which I obviously do. I can just take that and drag that into my library as well, and it's going to insert the PDF. But I can't cite that right now, right, because there's no sort of citation information. There's no author name or journal or anything else. If I right-click on this, the first time you do this and click on Retrieve Metadata, you have to install sort of a metadata reader. You don't have to do it once. So if I click here now, it's going to go out to Google Scholar. So this is exactly open preferences, right? I'm going to say install. I thought I already done that, honestly, but I guess I didn't, which is great. So now that I've installed that, I go back here again, Retrieve Metadata. It goes out to Google Scholar and actually found all the information by itself. So here is that article now. So it went out and found the author names. It found the journal title, issue, all the information to cite it. And it also, this little arrow here, if I click on it, it actually inserts the PDF right here. So I can actually read the PDF through Zotero as well. So if you want to use this to store everything, you can certainly do that. Again, if you make an account, like I said, when you register, it's going to ask you to register for an account. You can now sync all of your holdings up to the cloud. So I could take this, I could put this up on the cloud, and I could, any other computer I have, if I just click on this little kind of green arrow here, this kind of like recycle arrow, I can sync my account. So I'm actually recording this from my house on a Saturday. When I get back to work on Monday, open up my work laptop. If I sync back to my Zotero account, I could now pull this PDF down out of the cloud. So it's really fantastic. So wherever you go, if you go home for like spring break or Thanksgiving break, you use one of your parents' computers, you could sync back to your Zotero account to keep working on what you were working on. You could add citations to your account from your parents' house. When you get back to school on Monday, open your computer at school, I'll pull the citations out. It's great. Wherever you happen to be working, you can have Zotero always sync your account back to the cloud, which is a great resource. Okay, so it's pretty much all the different ways, common ways to get things into your Zotero account. So once things are in your Zotero account, kind of what's the big deal? So when you start to write your paper, I'm just going to leave Zotero right here. Not that I really need to, but I'm just going to do it anyway. So I'm just going to, I have a really big monitor, so I'm just going to put this up here side by side. I'm just going to open up Word. And my copy of Word is a little bit wonky right now, but hopefully this is going to work. Okay, so I start to type my paper, whatever I want to write. So I've been doing this all weekend here, so I don't know why, but perfectly legal copy of Word, but it keeps doing that, I don't know why. So I write a sentence, I want to cite the sentence here using Zotero. So I go up here, and it depends, if you're a Mac person, we're going to make a separate tutorial for Macs because it's a little bit different. It could go one of 2 or 3 different places for Mac. With PC users, it's pretty much always here under add-ins. So this is actually my Zotero toolbar right here. So I have these, 6 options here for things I can actually do. 7 options, I guess. So the very first one here is insert citation. So when I click on this, it's going to ask me what citation style do I want to use. So APA is one of the most popular ones in the School of Public Health. So I'm going to say APA. That's fantastic. I get this little Z toolbar, so it wants to know what citation do I want to cite. Now this never stays clicked on for me, but it's turned on every single time, this, classic view. So say I want to use the things that are in this folder right here, and those are the same resources here. Say I want to cite this very first article here, I'm going to say OK. So now that's perfect APA format with that parentheses, author name, comma, date, publication date. Say I have another sentence here that I want to use. I want to cite this. Maybe I have 2 articles I want to cite in this particular sentence. Same thing, I go up here to insert citation. Again, never stays checked off for me, so whatever. I'll just go back to classic view. So say I want to use 2 different things, like I said. I can even use multiple folders. Say I want to use this article here. I'm just going to click on multiple sources first, click on this article here and move it over to this box. Now I can just jump down to some other folder. I can grab some other article, as many folders as I want, whatever it happens to be. Say that this actually should go first. That's the one that should be the first thing cited. I can move those around. If I click that, keep sources sorted, so now it's in the proper order. I click OK, and now those 2 items are properly referenced here using APA. I'm all done. I want to make a bibliography. So wherever I put the cursor, it obviously probably go down to the next page or put in a page break and put in like works cited or bibliography, whatever the standard you're using dictates. I go to the 3rd option over here, insert bibliography, boom, there's my bibliography. Now the great thing is, say I wrote this for a class using APA, my professor loved it, the advisor loved this, so I should definitely get this thing published. And say I want to send this to JAMA to have it published in JAMA. Excuse me, JAMA does not use APA style. JAMA uses, unsurprisingly, JAMA style. So this is the wrong format now for that journal I want to use. I don't have to retype anything. If I go back up here to the preferences and click on this, I can say I want to change now my citation style. I don't want to use APA anymore. I want to use JAMA. I click on JAMA here. Boom, automatically reformats to JAMA by itself. So it really does a great job, Zotero, with all the things you want to do with citations. Like I said, the in-text citations, bibliographies. It's really easy to import things into it. It was just an aberration today. The books and newspapers and websites not working. Normally works perfectly. So like I said, it's probably the easiest to use of all the resources that we have. It's free, and you can probably install it and be up and running in a matter of minutes. I'd like to thank you for watching all of these tutorials for public health. As I said, this is just an introduction. This is not the only chance you get to use the library or the only time you get to interact with the librarians. I know it's pretty one-sided in this case, but you will get a chance to work with us over your time at BU. If you have any questions, if you'd like to work with somebody quicker than whatever the case may be that we actually come to your course, any session that we're teaching for you, you can always just come to the library for help. So as I said before, we're on the 12th and 13th floors of the medical instruction building. There's always someone at the reference desk Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5, so you can just feel free to drop by. We also have librarians who work on the weekends. Amanda works on Saturdays from 10 to 6. Alyssa works on Sundays from 10 to 6. They would like you to make an appointment, though, because they're the only librarian on duty on the weekends. Amanda and Alyssa are on their respective days. So they're usually doing other things while they're in the library rather than just working the reference desk. So if you'd like to meet with a librarian on the weekend, you can certainly make an appointment. You can also make an appointment. Sorry, this happens from time to time. You can also make an appointment with any of the librarians at all, including me. My name is David Flynn. I'm the head of education for the library. So if you'd like to do that, if you just go to the library homepage, again, medlib.bu.edu, if you just click here on About Us and go down to Departments and Staff, so this is the entire library staff here listed. If you scroll through here is Reference and Education Services, so you can also just call, again, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5, or the weekends from 10 to 6, 617-638-4228. The librarian on duty will answer your question right there and work with you over the phone. You can send an email to refquest.bu.edu. We check that. During the week, we check it pretty much every hour. Same with weekends. Then sometimes we even check it at night, depending on what our schedules are like. Or you could also just send an email to any of us directly. So again, this is my information here. Probably email's the best to reach me personally. I check my email 7 days a week. Pretty much if I'm awake, I'm checking my email. So if you have an urgent question, feel free to send me an email anytime a problem arises. And as I said, Alyssa, Amanda, and Laura also are education librarians as well. So any question you have, if you have kind of a larger question, you can also ask our head of reference, Joe Harsbecker. His information is here. So again, any way you want to contact us, call us, send us an email to the reference desk, or come in and drop by in person. Any of those methods are fine. We're always here to help you for any kind of research needs you have from today going forward for the time you're here at BU.